I was just working on my videos of how to build $1 billion Roth IRA in 20 years. Is it
Nobody talks
possible?
about that kind of stuff.
Well, I do because it's possible.
Yeah, very,
Peter Thiel did it. His is now $5 billion.
yeah,
He started with 2,000.
yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
if he
just
can do it, there's no reason I can't do it.
no. I think what we talked about yesterday about it's really and Warren Buffett is a big advocate of this, and that is diversification is you know
It's not the answer.
no, it's you diversify to mediocrity,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and and I think what we have discovered and you having been in the financial advisory world and I being in the financial advisory world and Mark being in the financial advisory world, but on the back end of it, we've seen, what the motive is to collect assets,
Yeah.
diversify them out so that they don't make really big volatile swings so that they can pick up fees on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the industry. And you taught me years ago. We were walking down to the beach in Florida on a green key fishing team meeting, and it
Mhm.
was you understand how a man gets paid or a woman, you'll understand their motives. Well,
Yeah.
if you're Fidelity or BlackRock or any of these big guys, what's your motive? Collect assets, keep them within a volatility range, and collect fees, and you become very, very wealthy.
And I think that's true. But I think the other thing we need to recognize is there is a whole other industry who says that there's enough data out there that I can outperform any market if I can access that data
Mm-hmm.
and then use it to my advantage and not really share it with a whole lot of people
Right.
other than those who are willing to pay me for it. And I think it's become apparent that the guy who has the data has the advantage. Something happened this morning that I thought was just really kind of funny. Every morning on Squawk Box, if you get up early enough, they have a trivia question, the Aflac trivia question. And today's Aflac trivia question was today. What is it?
12.
Uh, June the 12th in 1981. What was the movie that was introduced that was a blockbuster? June the 12th, 1981. And I thought, I asked Nita, well, do you know what? No, I don't know what it is. And I said, well, here. And I picked my phone up and I said, what was the movie that was introduced on June the 12th in 1981 that became a blockbuster? Well, you get 3 minutes to answer that question. I had the answer in 30 seconds. It was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No.
And I said to myself, if I had been asked that question 20 years ago, where would I have gone to get the answer? Well, I'd have to get in my car and go to a library and find a book that had the history of movies on. And about 2 hours later, I would have the answer to the question.
If the library had that information.
If the library had that answer. But today I got it in 30 seconds. And I thought, what can I learn from that? What's going to happen in the next 5 years that will be equivalent to that which I was able to do this morning? And the answer is I will have all the knowledge of the world that I want in my hand, and all I got to know is the question to ask.
Yeah.
And
It's
if that question is, how can I build a $1 billion Roth IRA over the next 20 years? Help me research it and find me the answer. Now, allow me to getting in a conversation exchange, because what I've learned over the years is I don't learn by just reading. I learn by asking questions and getting answers.
yep.
And if I can ask questions and get answers and know the questions to ask, I can learn anything. I can become a neurosurgeon if I have the answers, but know the questions to ask. Do I move this to the right or the left? In your kidney or whatever. So I can, if I know the right, I'll be able to do that.
I think the biggest challenge is we have, since the industrial age, we have industrialized education, and education is regurgitating information. Here are the points you learn, regurgitate it on a test, and then you
Yeah,
end up forgetting it.
exactly.
Right? We've gotten rid of all of our art programs, which is creative thinking. What
Mm-hmm.
I think is happening is that now, and you demonstrated every week on the Friday call, is this creative thinking that's asking questions that build upon asking more questions, which then builds knowledge. And I think that's really, you talk about $1 billion portfolio before we start recording this, and it's not unrealistic. As you
No.
pointed out, Peter Thiel did it with $2,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's just a matter of asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I'm working on a spreadsheet, and my thought is I'll take 5 stocks: the Apple, the Google, the Amazon, the Microsoft, and the Nvidia, and that'll be my core. And then I'll identify some companies that are depressed right now, and over the next 3 to 5 years have some great growth potential. And that's AEHR and several others that I've put together. And now I need to go, and if I could get to my Samantha, my AI factory, I could ask her, what are the startups that are going to be in a position to take advantage of the problems that are going to be created by this surge in compute power. And one of them is, and we've talked about this on our call this last Friday, is these data centers are using such massive amounts of electricity that somebody's got to come up with a solution. And one of those companies that I'm following is recognizing the silicone that these transistors sit on that conduct the electricity doesn't absorb a lot of heat. But if you add something to that silicone, it brings down that heat and helps and makes the wafer more efficient. Well, that company is has a moat built around it because it has the patents built around it. So I'm building up my holdings in it. And if I can find 4 more of them, my $1 billion Roth IRA is done. The only problem I don't have 20 years.
Well, you may. You never
No,
know.
no.
But think about it from this perspective. You're 25, you're 30,
Oh,
you're 50, right?
yeah.
You got 20 years. And I think the biggest key to this is it's not just identify at once. It's a moving target. Moore's law, I believe, is the exponential growth of technology. The original CEO of Intel came
Right.
up with this, right? And I think that's the key to this is, you talked about your multi-million-dollar Roth IRA. If you had bought, I think it was Apple, Microsoft, and a handful of others 10, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
If you had just bought the S&P, you would have like what, 300 some thousand?
300,000 as opposed to potentially that those stocks could grow to 800,000. And that's what said, wait a second, I just need a little bit more and I can turn that into $1 billion.
Right. Well, and the thing
Yeah.
is that between, if you want to build $1 billion portfolio 20 years from, that'll be $1 billion 20 years from now. The key is that these cycles, these
Yeah.
evolutional cycles in technology, as we're seeing with from the internet to AI to now, generative AI to, reinforcing learning AI, all these things are going to continue to develop. And these companies that get you from, say, you put $6,000 in a Roth IRA 1 year, and you do that for 5 years. Those companies that are going to lead you to $1 billion in 20 years are going to change.
Yeah.
And the key is, what questions do I need to be asking every day as we evolve technologically and throughout humanity? What is going to take me to $1 billion? And I really think that is the key of all this. And in our discussions, I think between the two of us, we have over 50 years of as a financial advisors.
Mm-hmm.
It changes. This evolution is changing so fast. You can't just buy a 60-40 split portfolio, buy the S&P and think you're going to get to that level. No. Even Warren Buffett says no to that. I mean, everybody regards him as the smartest investor in the world. He has said diversification is basically silly.
No.
It's you diversify to mediocrity.
And I think, Trent, the other issue that is people don't feel they have the ability to master. So I can't pick stocks, so I'm going to diversify, and I'm going to buy the S&P 500, or I'll buy some index fund and let the averages work for me. Well, that's the way you think when you don't. Somebody said to me, "You always talk about connecting the dots. What does that mean? How do you connect the dots?" Well, a dot is a data point, but you can ask Google about the data point, and it will give you the information relative to that data point. But the key is, then what is the next dot? And then what is the next dot? And up until now, you and I had to do that on our own. But with Samantha, who I can tell, I want you to do all the research on these 40 stocks, and tomorrow we're going to talk about Skywater. I want you to go find out everything you can about Skywater, and then I want to have a conversation with you when I go on my walk tomorrow in my ears, and you tell me everything you know about Skywater. And you're going to use some terms I don't understand, and I want to be able to ask questions. And then I will come back with answers. And it's like Jensen Huang says, we are moving from a point of where you ask a question and the computer generates an answer, to now we're going to move to a point where we will be able to get that answer and then ask further questions and build our knowledge accordingly. And as you said, this is going to change every aspect of education, of work, of everything. But what I think is so important is it's going to be in the hands of anybody who wants it. Anybody who wants it and is willing to learn how to use it and how to connect the dots.
The best quote I've heard in the last month is, it isn't AI that's going to take your job. It's the guy who understands AI that's going to take your job. It's not a machine that's going to take, or an algorithm that's going to take your job. It's the guy who said, wait a second, there's something to this, and starts asking questions, who then becomes enormously knowledgeable about AI or whatever else, and he or she becomes the expert in that field. And Seth Godin has always said, you want to become an expert, you spend 10,000 hours doing something. I bet it's cut into half that time these days, if you can ask the right questions, which leads me to the cheat sheet.
Okay.
All right. What is the cheat sheet? Tell me what it is and explain it, and what your vision of it was when you started to create it.
My first vision was that I recognized that Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Meta had something. And that they had shown over the past 20 years the ability to grow and to adapt to whatever change. And they emerged out of what we call the data revolution. And I said, we are going into the digital revolution. We're going into the data revolution, and they, because of their current position, their understanding of the business, their understanding of the talent and the money they have, they're going to go on. Now what I got to do is build upon that and see who else is going to come into it. And I think the first one that I really recognized was that of super micro. I always mispronounce that and call it macro, but super micro. And what I did, Trent, is I said to myself, how can I learn what this company is doing? And I discovered through Seeking Alpha, I could access their earnings call. And I'll never forget Charles, the CEO, made the statement that our problem right now is we have more orders than we can fulfill. And we are building 3 new plants as fast as we can to build these computers, these servers that are going into data centers. And with that, I said, holy crap, this guy just told me he has more business than he can fulfill, and that's where I need to grow. So I put them on my my list. And the more I listened to him, and he told me about data centers and how these computers were generating so much more heat, I said, well, how are they going to take care of that? And then I discovered Vertiv Holdings, VTR, and I listened to their earnings call, and they said, we're building these racks and we're putting air conditioning in. And I thought, this is going crazy. And I just started looking, and I went to a screener, a stock screener, and I said, what are the fastest growing companies right now in the semiconductor, and I think it's called information technology. And there was Supermacro, and there was Vertiv. And then I looked at the list and said, who else is in there? And I picked up about 20 other names, and I started following them. I started listening to their earnings calls and weeding them out and pushing them in. And then Broadcom is one that I think of a lot. Broadcom has never lost money in a year, but it's never grown because all it does is works for other people. So it's on my cheat sheet, but I've never bought it because it does not have any exponential growth capability. It doesn't own anything or have a moat around it that if Apple decides to go away, it won't crash. So I learned that I have to have companies, and Warren Buffett says this, find a company that has a moat and that is impenetrable. Well, what is that? Well, Google certainly is one of those. Facebook is one of those. Is super macro? No. This is something I just learned this week. They are the 3rd largest supplier of servers in data centers, followed by they fall behind Hewlett Packard and Dell. Now there's a 5th one, ACER. It is I've seen their computers. They make laptops. It's over-the-counter stock. I did a video in which I said, these are the 10 top producers of computer laptops, because I believe 76 million laptops have to be replaced. ACR stock is up 58% today. 58% today. Why? Because somebody listened to what I had to say. Now, did I buy it? No, I didn't buy it because it's an over-the-counter stock. It's very thinly traded, and it's got too much risk in it. But am I buying Dell? You damn betcha I am. Have I bought any Hewlett Packard yet? No, it's at its all-time high. And I know because Mark has taught me in swing trading It'll come down. I'll put my Fibonacci retracement on it, and it'll show me where it'll drop to 50%, where the support levels are. And I put that on my cheat sheet and says, yeah, I want to buy. I even tell you how many shares I want to buy and at what price I want to buy it. And if it doesn't come to it, that's okay. I still, and Nvidia's another one. It's overpriced right now. You just look at its PE ratios, where it used to be, where it is now. And that's what the cheat sheet's all about. Trying to focus. I am not a general practitioner. I'm a neurosurgeon of stocks. And my specialty on that cheat sheet is semiconductors, and data and data centers, and I'm specializing on that. And then I'm open to the new companies who are coming in and giving, and sometimes it's not new companies, sometimes it's depressed companies. AEHR. If you look at AEHR over the last 15 years, they have an average rate of return of about 165%. Holy shit. But they're down 57% this year. That's an opportunity. Why are they down? Because they made their money. They created a testing system that tests wafers to make, on every wafer, 20% of them don't work. Okay? 20% of those semiconductors don't work. Do you want that in your Tesla autonomous automobile? No, thank you. Do you want it in your F-15 fighter jet? No, thank you. Is it okay if it's in your toaster? Yeah, I can send my toaster back. So because that part of the semiconductor business is depressed, electric vehicles right now, AEHR is down. But I'm putting my money on them, that within the next 3 years, it's going to be a bonanza. So that's what the cheat sheet's all about. And okay. what I like to share with people, I change it every day. Change it every day because I get more. I'm called a flip-flopper. Okay. When somebody says I'm a flip-flopper, I think about walking on the beach in my flip-flops and slapping on the heel. Flap, flap, flap. Yes, I am. I am a flip-flopper, and I have that right because I have a belly button. Now, what does that mean? Well, God gave me a belly button. He also gave me a mind. And so as I learn things, I have the right, because God gave me a belly button, to change my mind. People without a belly button are not allowed to change their mind. Okay? That's the simple way of it.
Yeah. It's interesting because the core of the cheat sheet really hasn't changed that much.
No.
And the reason is I believe is because the fundamental view of where we are evolving to hasn't changed. So those companies, and I think there's 38 of them on there, are companies that support that evolution of technology change. Now, 36 months from now, it could be a whole different list. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that it evolves. Whereas most people buy the S&P and it does not evolve. I think there's a change up here coming in the next week or so, in addition to the S&P and a subtraction, but that doesn't happen all the time.
Well, I like that you brought that up, because immediately what I thought of was Tesla. Mm-hmm. Okay, they were added to the S&P. Whoop, 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 whoop. When were they added? At their height.
Right.
What happened then? Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a momentum. The S&P speaks to momentum, and we all know, because we all have been told, that 75% of the gain in the S&P is by 5 stocks.
Yeah.
So is it representative? No.
But if you just own those 5 stocks,
You've
right?
achieved an 8% average return.
No, if you own the S&P, you would
Oh,
have,
if
but
you own
of
those
the
five
five
stocks, yeah,
stocks, you're
you've
probably well
achieved
over
about a
100.
33%, 35% average rate of return.
Yeah, but I
And
guess,
is it that difficult? No.
well, it isn't difficult if you know how to creatively think. And I think
Yeah,
that's the biggest challenge for a lot of people is I don't have time to figure out how they're going to cool a data center.
yeah,
Whereas the cheat sheet tells you that answer because
yeah,
that is how you think, that is how best of US investors has thought. And combining both the fundamental and the technical and bringing those together, it narrows down the selection, but it also creates the greater exponential return over time.
yeah.
Whereas
That's
just buying the index is you're just getting the average. You're just getting mediocrity.
You and I have talked about why don't we take this and start our own financial advice company, or some people have suggested, why don't you start an ETF? And we've talked about that.
Yeah.
And we have both been in the industry. And as you said to me recently, you couldn't say what you're saying if you had a compliance department hanging over you. No, I couldn't. I
Yeah.
couldn't. I know that. And that's why I'm no longer a financial advisor.
Yeah. It,
They
it,
they they gave me a reason to leave.
I recently read about Stan Druckenmiller,
Yeah.
and he has 20% of his holdings, which we're talking billions, in one company right now. And he's been a very good investor.
Hmm.
He was part of the team who made the bet back in the 80s on the British pound collapsing,
Hmm.
and made $1 billion. And back in the 80s, that's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
He's created a lot of wealth, but he's very much a concentrated investor. He'll concentrate into a handful of companies, as does Warren Buffett. And you think about that from the perspective of if you're going to create over and above exponential wealth, you cannot be focused on the whole body,
No.
right? Yeah, I mean, general practitioners are, they know a little bit about the whole body, whereas a neurosurgeon only knows about the brain.
Hmm.
And I think it's the same thing, what we're doing and pushing towards is a neurosurgeon approach to investing. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, AI may not be the thing. It may be horticulture or, um, you know, uh, planet, living on another planet. And that's the great thing about the cheat sheet is it's evolving over time. It's
Yeah,
evolving.
you're going to find on the cheat sheet, you're going to find IBM. And I have no idea who the CEO of IBM is. But I know they're going to be a player, not probably in the next 3 years, but they and Amazon are the leaders right now in quantum computing. And quantum computing is not available yet, but it will be. And the cheat sheet will evolve into that as we go there. I think I remember in my research on quantum computing, they have to keep that computer at something like 600 degrees below zero
Yeah, it's
because
ridiculous.
the energy that it uses to generate the compute power that it has generates so much heat. And if you want to know what the next startup company is going to be and where it's going to be and what will appear on the cheat sheet, it relates explicitly to that.
Yeah.
It's not quantum computing, but this is the same problem that Jensen is having with his GPUs. They are generating so much heat that the data centers can't move that heat out fast enough. So and then what generates that heat is electricity. And what was it you told me that in Cheyenne that
Yeah. So
that the
there's
who
Microsoft has a data center in Cheyenne, and it's the data center is dedicated to one of their
Game,
Xbox games.
Xbox.
Okay. And their contract, as I've been told, which with the city of Cheyenne, is they are number one when it comes to electricity. If they have a blackout, they are the first to get turned back on. Everybody else is in blackout. So, and they're willing to spend billions of dollars to make that happen. So you think about that from the standpoint of energy and the
Mhm.
cost of energy and where in the limitations of our existing energy power grid. What is the next step? What is that next company that is going to revolutionize energy? And that at some point will show up on the cheat sheet.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that's the thing that separates what we're doing at Best of US Investors from everybody else. And that is we're identifying what companies could potentially be the next chapter in the evolution of technology in mankind. And I think that's the beauty of it. And the nice thing is, it's pretty, you get contact with you and I and Mark. It's really easy to communicate with us and share ideas. We do that on the Platinum call on Friday at 11:30 Central, and we do that on your call at 3 o'clock Central every Friday. And this is where the tribe, the community get together and we discuss these ideas and we share new ideas. And that's, I've been talking to a lot of our subscribers recently, and the number one thing they come away with is I'm in a safe community tribe that I can share ideas and we can go back and forth and make good investment decisions.
yeah. I was yesterday, we went to the drugstore and I saw five guys, old guys, sitting around the table. And I said, they have a tribe.
Yeah.
They're sharing their ideas. They're learning from each other. They're not trying to do something by themselves.
Yeah. And that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. This has been great.
Yeah, we need
I'll
to do this more often.
We need to do this at least once a week. We'll
Okay.
call it the son and dad call or dad and
Yeah.
son call. But no, I think this is really what we're about. And that
Okay.
is educating and helping you, the subscriber. So there you go.
And let's just say I used to say make good investment decisions. I think it's gone beyond that. I think it's gone to the point of exceed your greatest expectations.
Yeah.
That's truly what it is. And I did not I did not my life in business has always been controlled by somebody else. Um, I excelled at Purex because I learned that all I had to do was put more bleach on end caps than anybody else, and I could sell more bleach than I could grow in the company. I did the same thing with Polaroid. The Polaroid was all about who could get the most advertising. Well, I recognized having control of Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Western Wisconsin. I had a bunch of cheap newspapers and sheets that I could put an ad in for $30 and get a guy to and I started winning all their contests. Then I ran into problems at Ameriprise. I learned that I could build a business by buying other people's businesses and increase my income by twofold. And what I didn't realize was the income I was getting was coming away from middle management, and they decided they needed to get rid of me. So what I learned is I know how to connect the dots.
And that's the
Give me a
future.
task, I'll figure out how to cheat. And that's what the cheat sheet's all about.
That's There you go. All right. Well, cool. Well,
Okay.
thanks for spending a half an hour with me today and
Okay.
discussing this. And we'll do it again next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to you
Hey,
later.
maybe we'll do it at the beach next week.
Yeah, I'm going to be at the beach. See you
There you go.
then.
All right. Cool.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right.